Young animals often learn behaviors from their mothers. Still, when they're separated from their mothers, it can lead to some interesting developments, such as when this homeless puppy was raised by cats. No one expected what would happen next. People often see puppies and kittens as being adorable little bundles of fur that they simply can't help but love. Unfortunately, not everyone feels the same, which can lead to quite a lot of these innocent animals being left to fend for themselves on the streets. Sadly, this is exactly what happened to this one little puppy who this story is about. Back in the summer of 2021, a young German Shepherd, who later came to be known as Osito, had found himself all on his own on the streets of Sacramento in the USA with the rest of his litter. It's not known how they ended up as strays. Perhaps some cold-hearted person had abandoned them all alone. Or maybe their mother had been a stray and they'd been born into this life. Whatever the reason, the litter of tiny puppies had been left to fend for themselves. No one knew what had happened to the mama dog and why she wasn't there looking after her babies. I can only hope that she's still okay, but being only just days old and without a mother to feed them, these puppies wouldn't have lasted long at all. Either they would have died from hunger and dehydration, or some other opportunistic predator would have gotten to them, such as a rat or a bird of prey. Luckily, the box of puppies was found by a good Samaritan. Unfortunately, though, it had been too late for the majority of the litter, and all but one had lost their lives. The surviving puppy was then taken to the Front Street Animal Shelter in the city of Sacramento. This facility was thankfully a no-kill shelter, meaning that all the animals taken there have as long as they need in order to get adopted. Without the fear of being humanly euthanized, it was here that Haley, one of the shelter's volunteers, found Osito and decided to foster him. Being only days old, he was nowhere near being ready to be put up for adoption yet, as he had a lot of growing to do. He was so young that he hadn't even opened his eyes yet. Haley had looked after many young fosters before, so she knew exactly what she needed to do to ensure that this little Osito survived. She had to keep an eye on him 24/7, as he needed round-the-clock feedings for the first few weeks so that he could get enough energy to start growing. The kind-hearted foster fed little Osito on a diet of milk to begin with, full of the same nutrients that the puppy would have gotten from his mother. She gave it to him in a baby bottle so that he would be able to drink it easier. As he got bigger, she slowly started to wean the pup off the milk and onto more solid foods. She also began to teach him how to go to the bathroom outside and basic commands that all dogs should know, such as sit and come. Being an animal lover, Haley had a number of other pets in her home that she had adopted from the shelter. These included a couple of other dogs and a few cats. She loved all of her animals dearly, and most likely would have kept Osito as well, but she decided that she simply didn't have the room or means to keep him. As the weeks went by, little Osito started to grow, and it soon became clear who his favorites of Haley's animals were. Instead of going to play with the other dogs, Osito preferred to hang around the aloof felines. He got to really grow up next to them, Haley said in the video that she posted to YouTube showing the puppy's progress. So as he grew, he just became more and more friendly with them. It wasn't long before the pup had created a strong bond with his feline counterparts. Now, he would still play with the other dogs. However, his preferred activity was hanging with the cool cats. But then something happened that Haley wasn't quite expecting. Being as young as he was, the German Shepherd puppy was still learning new things and trying to discover what it meant to be a dog. Or, in this case, a cat. Being around the felines at such an impressionable age meant that he started to pick up on how they would behave. Before long, Osito was netting the carpet before he laid down, much like a cat would do. He would also play with the cat's toys and scratching posts, and mimic their bouncy attitude when they wanted to play. I first started noticing when he would knead on the blanket, said Haley. That was the first thing that I was like, oh my gosh, that's so cute. When Haley first noticed what the little pup was doing, she couldn't quite believe what she was seeing. Never before had she seen a dog trying to act like a cat, and it was one of the most adorable things that she had ever witnessed. One of Osito's favorite things to do was to cuddle up in the various cat beds that were around the house and snuggle up to his feline friends. What shocked Haley the most about these interactions, though, was the fact that her cats let the little puppies stay with them. If they don't like a dog, they usually hiss and swat at them, Haley said, but they didn't do that with him. They totally let him play with them and hang out with them. It was a rare sight for the foster mom to see, but every time she found the two different animals playing or cuddling together, she couldn't help but fall in love with them even more. Eventually, the time came for Osito to be put up for adoption. He was old enough now that he could eat solid foods, and he no longer needed around-the-clock care. In total, he had spent roughly 3 months with Haley and her pets, and she would be sad to see him go, but she simply didn't have the room to keep him. From the time that Osito spent at Haley's house, though, an unexpected but pleasant bonus came about from Osito's love of her cats. Because of how relaxed he was around them, the pup was able to be adopted into a home that might already have felines living in it. This opened up a lot more potential homes to Osito that might otherwise have been closed off to him. However, it turned out that he didn't need to worry. Before Haley was able to advertise Osito online, a person who had previously adopted from Haley and knew about the little dog reached out to her to ask if they could adopt Osito as well. The foster mom was more than happy to accept the offer, as she knew that the family he'd be going to was a good one. And while Haley would miss the little pup, she was overjoyed that he had found his new family. The kind of perfect ending to it is he went to a home with some of my previous foster kittens, said Haley. So he's actually now living with 2 cats of his own, much to Osito's joy, I can imagine. Thanks to people like Haley, animals that might otherwise have died on the streets or have been left to fend for themselves have a second chance at life. Thanks to all of their hard work, innocent creatures such as dogs, cats, and even things like horses and farm animals can be saved and rehomed to a family that will love them for the rest of their lives. Shelters like this are always happy to accept help in the form of volunteers or foster people, as a lot of the animals might need a bit more love and attention before they're ready for adoption. If you'd like to help, but you can't become a foster for whatever reason, then shelters will also gladly accept donations in the form of money, toys, food, or whatever else their animals might need. In order to find out how you can help, simply contact your local animal shelter and ask. And who knows, you might find your very next furry family member waiting for you as well. Have you ever fostered an animal from a shelter? Let us know in the comments. We hope you enjoyed this video. Let us know what you think about it.